Awesome. Thank you so much, John. Very excited to be here. My first Email Insider Summit was 10 years ago this summer, so I feel very fortunate to have been part of this community for so long. So as John said, I am the CMO of OfferFit. I'm here with my colleagues, Grant and PJ. Raise your hands right in the middle. OfferFit is a reinforcement learning startup founded by 2 Cornell math PhDs in 2020, and we work with some of the world's largest brands. I've been in marketing for nearly 20 years, and I think that we can all agree that there are a lot of buzzwords that we've gotten to live through. I don't know if anyone remembers big data or its big brother, Big Data 2.0. Still not sure what either of those meant. But if I polled every single person in this room, I think that we would mostly say AI is the biggest buzzword that we're talking about right now. So at OfferFit, we're very passionate about kind of breaking down what these concepts mean. So AI is basically a computer doing a cognitive task typically performed by humans. Machine learning, really at its core, is just statistics. So it's pattern identification faster and with more precision and accuracy than a human being would be able to do. So there are a lot of different types of machine learning, and there are obviously more fancy names used by data scientists, but these are really the 4 types of machine learning that are being leveraged by marketers right now. And all of them have a lot of value in the marketing process and stack. We do reinforcement learning, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about that than the other types. But just to go through quickly, so predictive models are supervised learning, essentially. The best way that I've heard this explained was if you had to tell an AI to get out of a maze, you would have to tell it all of the answers for it to be able to figure out how to do so. Similarly, there's a very famous data set within statistics and machine learning, which is how likely you are to have died on the Titanic, based on, if you had a sibling on board, your ticket class, where you embarked from. So predictive models, you need to understand the answers, and they're trained on past data to essentially give you a score or an output tied to that. Unsupervised learning, pattern identification, would be something like uploading a LinkedIn or Facebook, Meta, Google lookalike audience, saying, these are some characteristics of the people that are most likely to engage with my brand. Please serve up other people. Gen AI is, I think, what all of us, or many of us, are most familiar with. ChatGPT, image generation, music generation. Now the whole agentic wave, which I'd love to talk to anyone about. Agentic and reinforcement learning agents are actually different. But agentic actually leverages Gen AI within different systems. And then decisioning is a continuous learning reinforcement using AI agents. And that is where OfferFit plays. So just to talk a little bit about how we like to differentiate from next best action. In this instance, I'm not referring to a product, but just kind of a general process and approach. So in next best action, if you were to have a set of customers that shopped with you, we can pretend this is a retailer, you might build out a ton of different predictive models around their propensity to churn, category affinity, propensity to repurchase. I know Sonia talked about a number of segments that they were looking at. But the challenge with that is that you're not really treating people as individuals. I'm not going to say like one-to-one hyper-personalization. We keep talking about that. But if you look at this example, you have 2 gentlemen that are in very similar scores and would likely be in the same micro segments in a program. So Benjamin and Michael both have a high churn propensity and the same category affinity for baby products. In this example, Benjamin might be a grandfather who was purchasing things for his family but had a bad customer service experience, where Michael might have been babysitting and he moved out of town, so he's no longer doing that. But with the traditional approach to personalization, they're going to end up in the same situation. Second, the thing that we run into is that while we might understand how Michael and Benjamin, I think, okay, cool, yep. Michael and Ben, my friends, where they fit, it doesn't actually help us make a decision, like how should I communicate with them to re-engage them? So just to break it down, you have a ton of predictive models that can be very complex or more simple, and you'll end up assigning scores to the people that you're marketing to. And as you can see, those could be very broad segments, like this person's likely to churn, Or it could be very complex combinations of every factor of data that you have on them. But then ultimately, what's interesting as an AI, marketer, is that the machine learning models in this case are actually the easy part of the equation. What is more complex is, what do I do with these segments? How do I test the best frequency, offer, creative, channel, timing? As Steph said yesterday from Paramount, send time optimization is one thing that is almost immediately moot the second that you've discovered it. So this testing and experimentation, it's just really difficult, cumbersome to scale that. And then in the end, what you end up with is a set of rules that if my customer fits into this segment, this is what I should do. And ultimately, as we just heard, right, 1,800 different email creatives, and if that's the challenge, then it can be very, very difficult, especially in an environment that we're working with less, to really deliver personalized messaging. So AI decisioning is reinforcement learning, as I said. So reinforcement learning means that there's essentially an agent that is rewarded. It has a goal, and it is rewarded for helping achieve that goal, and it is penalized for, not achieving that goal. So essentially, it is continuously learning and making decisions one-to-one to help maximize a specific business objective, KPI, something like that. So the way that OfferFit works, and I'm actually doing really good on time. The way that OfferFit works is that we work with a brand and we come up with a specific KPI, typically revenue, commercial KPI that they're looking to hit. So we don't like to often optimize for conversions because that's not driving meaningful ROI. But as an example, a QSR brand that we work with, one of their success metrics was you sign up for the loyalty program and you visit twice in 90 days. In other customers that we work with, it might be pricing optimization or customer lifetime value. We work across many, many different industries. And one of the really important things about OfferFit is that it is highly configured. Reinforcement learning is the most complex type of machine learning, and it is not something that you can really set and forget. So it's really important that we work with our internal team as well as the brand, and we come up with what that KPI is. Then you'd have an action bank of things like, here are all of the pieces of approved creative, offers, send times, frequency, channel. We've also recently discussed with one of our clients testing their welcome program and actually saying, I want to change the order of these communications, or I want to test one-to-one what is the best thing for Grant to receive versus John. But anyways, AI decisioning agents then make decisions one-to-one of what should this person receive based on what they've done in the past. So as you can see, our various friends that I cannot remember their names, in this instance, would all receive a different communication, potentially in a different channel as well. And ultimately, the way that our product works is like pressure-tested ROI because we are setting it up to hit a commercial KPI. The other thing that I'd call back to Sonia's presentation before was I'm going to paraphrase, but it's impossible to engage with your customers because unless you're continuously learning, testing, optimizing. I hope I did okay with that. So one of the things that we also really like to emphasize is this is not set it and forget it. I didn't understand, okay, Benjamin prefers this channel this time, whereas my other customer prefers something else. Our buying patterns change, our circumstances change, and so the models are continuously balancing off explore and exploit, which is kind of testing and optimizing for what you know works, and so continues to learn and make better one-to-one decisions as time goes on and you have more data. So essentially, this is the famous marketecture, but we're able to ingest any sort of first-party data. We right now integrate with many different marketing clouds and CDPs, and so we're really customize and curate with our customers how we want to use the AI. So TLDR, I was going to make up a new acronym and say too long, didn't listen, but I hope you did. There are 4 types of machine learning: prediction, pattern identification, generation, and again, agentic fits into generation. I could go on about this for a long time, and decisioning. Traditional next best action is using predictive machine learning, but then segment-based rules. And AI decisioning is machine learning basically made to take action. So it is a more personalized approach. And we have a lot of great content that goes more in depth into how this works and what this looks like. So OfferFit has a program called AI Academy. I have one testimonial. Everybody get their phones out, please. No, I'm just kidding. But I will also share this link as well. We have around 10% of our team is PhDs across data science, math, neuroscience, and then the head of our solutions consulting team used to run MarTech for Geico. So we have a really, really smart group, and they come in and do either half or full day on-site, teach you how to build a predictive model about who would have died on the Titanic, and then talk about the other trends that we're seeing in AI. So not at all salesy. I have a testimonial here from Juan Mendoza of the MarTech Weekly. We're also starting to host this as an event. So if anyone is in Dallas, we'll be doing that next month. Just ask me about it. Okay, back. And the last thing that I wanted to share, thank you so much for your time. I hope everyone has a great afternoon. But we had some very exciting news that we announced last month. So pending regulatory approval and other standard disclosures, OfferFit will be joining the Braze team this summer. So we're very excited about that. And to continue to bring AI decisioning to more brands across the world. Thank you for your time.